Let me tell you something strange about people who are always late. We live in a world obsessed with schedules, deadlines, and efficiency. Yet some people seem to move through time differently. They arrive after the moment has already begun. And here is the question that quietly lingers beneath the frustration. Why does time seem to slip through their hands again and again? At first glance, being late looks like carelessness, disrespect, poor discipline. People assume it's laziness, or entitlement, or a lack of consideration for others. But that's not the full picture. Beneath the surface, there's an entire psychology at play. One that has less to do with clocks and more to do with how a person relates to pressure, identity, and presence. See, for some people, being late is not rebellion. It's not indifference. It's a quiet signal of an inner relationship with time that doesn't align with the world's tempo. This isn't about excusing behavior. It's about understanding it. From the outside, the pattern is familiar. They say they'll be there at 6. They believe it when they say it. And somehow, 6 arrives before they do. They underestimate how long things take. They get lost in preparation. They think, just one more minute and time stretches without permission. To others, it feels personal, like a lack of respect. Like they didn't matter enough to be prioritized. But inside, the experience feels very different. Inside, it feels rushed, chaotic, like time is constantly moving forward while you're still trying to gather yourself. Psychologists have found something fascinating here. People who are chronically late often don't experience time linearly. They experience it emotionally. Time isn't measured in minutes. It's measured in readiness. You're not late because you don't care. You're late because you don't feel ready yet. And here's the reframe. It's not about being irresponsible. It's about struggling with transition, moving from one state to another, from the inner world to external demand, from preparation to performance. For some people, that shift feels abrupt, almost intrusive, so they linger, they delay. They hover at the edge of arrival. For many, this pattern forms quietly over time. Not from defiance but from pressure. You grow up in environments where expectations arrive faster than support, where being ready is demanded before it's felt, where mistakes are remembered longer than effort, so you learn to prepare excessively. To double-check, to make sure nothing is missing. Preparation becomes a form of safety. Here's what's often misunderstood. People who are always late are not relaxed about time. They are hyper-aware of it. They feel time as exposure, as evaluation, as the moment you'll be seen before you feel assembled. So you stall not because you don't care, but because you care too much. Psychologically, this connects to time anxiety and self-presentational pressure. The fear of arriving unfinished, of stepping into visibility before you feel whole. In a culture that equates punctuality with worth, lateness becomes moralized. But let us be honest, much of what we call discipline is actually adaptation to systems that reward speed over attunement. And not every nervous system is built for that pace. Some people need internal alignment before external arrival. And when the world doesn't wait, tension begins, because think about it. When was the last time you arrived somewhere on time, but not fully present, physically there, mentally scattered? And when was the last time you arrived late, but finally felt like yourself? What if punctuality isn't always presence? But not all lateness comes from sensitivity. Some of it comes from fear. Fear of the moment beginning without you. Fear of being seen unprepared. Fear of stepping into a role you're not sure you want. Here's the paradox. Time was meant to organize life. Yet for some people, it becomes a source of chronic shame. The more they're criticized for being late, the more anxious arrival becomes. The more anxious arrival becomes, the harder it is to arrive at all. It's a loop. There's also something existential happening here. In a world that constantly says hurry, choosing your own tempo becomes a quiet act of resistance. But resistance has a cost. Trust erodes, Intentions are questioned. You're labeled careless, unreliable, too much. And over time, you may begin to believe that story, even when it doesn't fit. Yet the inner truth is more complex. Living out of sync with time often deepens internal life. Moments feel heavier, thoughts feel layered. Presence matters more than precision. Colors feel richer, but clocks feel harsher. Research suggests that chronic lateness often connects to heightened emotional processing and difficulty with transition, not a lack of intelligence or empathy. The brain doesn't fail to understand time. It struggles to leave one state for another. Dopamine fuels preparation. Cortisol spikes at transition. The system hesitates not because it's broken, but because it's protecting something. Sometimes, that hesitation looks like inconsideration from the outside. But lived from within, it feels like care taken too far. Maybe that's what sensitivity looks like. Not efficiency, but attunement. In a world obsessed with speed, some people choose depth even when it costs them approval. Maybe some arrivals are late because they're not meant to be rushed. Maybe some people aren't slow, they're thorough. And maybe not everything meaningful needs to happen on time. So the next time someone arrives late, pause before judging. Or don't, just notice what stirs in you. And let's return to the question, why are some people always late? Maybe it's not about disrespect. Maybe it's about readiness. About needing to arrive whole, not just punctual. Being late doesn't always mean being careless. Sometimes it means being human in a world that forgot how to wait. And maybe, just maybe, time isn't asking us to move faster, but to arrive more honestly.